Champions League semi-final, Arsenal are standing on the edge of history, one game, one night at the Emirates. Everything Arsenal have worked for over the last decade comes down to 90 minutes against Atletico Madrid. Are the Gunners ready to answer the call? Close your eyes for a moment and think about this. Arsenal Football Club has not been in a Champions League final since 2006. That was 20 years ago. Some of the players in tomorrow's squad were still in primary school when Jens Lehmann pulled on the gloves at the Stade de France in Paris. A whole generation of Gunners has grown up waiting, hoping, dreaming of a night like this, and now here we are, one game away from Budapest. One match away from the final that almost every Arsenal fan has wanted to see for 2 decades. Tomorrow night, Tuesday, May 5th, Atletico Madrid walk into the Emirates with the tie sitting at 1 goal each after the first leg in Madrid. Everything is still to play for. But before we get into all of that, here is the question every single Arsenal fan should be sitting with right now. Is this finally the year Arsenal stop being a nearly team and become a truly great European side? And if not now, when? We are going to break down everything you need to know about this semi-final, look at both teams honestly, and give you the full picture of what tomorrow night really means for this club. Grab a seat. This is going to be a good one. Where the tie stands right now, first things first, let us be very clear about something because there has been some confusion floating around about the state of this tie. Arsenal do not have a deficit to overtake. The first leg in Madrid finished 1 goal each. Arsenal are level. That means 1 goal at the Emirates tomorrow puts Arsenal in the driving seat. A clean win by any scoreline sends them to Budapest. That result at the Wanda Metropolitano was a good one for Arsenal.
Going away to Diego Simeone's ground and coming back with a draw is never easy. Atletico are notoriously hard to beat at home. They make life uncomfortable, they sit deep, they hit you on the counter, and their fans make the atmosphere absolutely ferocious. Getting out of there with a 1-1 draw was a solid piece of business. So tomorrow is Arsenal's game to win at home. The Emirates will be rocking, and the numbers actually back Arsenal to get the job done. Second leg win probability, Arsenal win 58.1%, draw 24.0%, Atletico Madrid win 17.9%, over 58% chance of Arsenal winning tomorrow. Atletico are sitting at less than 18%. Those numbers tell a clear story. Arsenal are the favourites, the home crowd is behind them, and Arteta's side has been the only remaining unbeaten team in this competition throughout the whole campaign. Let that sink in for a second. Who is Atletico Madrid and why should Arsenal be careful?
Before any Arsenal fan gets too comfortable, let us talk honestly about who Atletico Madrid are, because this is not a team you can take lightly, not even for a single minute. Diego Simeone has been the manager of Atletico for well over a decade now. In that time, he has built a team that fights for every single ball, never gives up, and always finds a way to make games ugly when they need to. Simeone loves to frustrate teams. He loves to soak up pressure, sit back, and then hit you hard when you least expect it. And look at their Champions League record this season. Yes, Atletico have lost 5 games in this competition, but they also beat Barcelona twice in the quarterfinals. They beat them 2-0 at the Camp Nou in the first leg, and yes, Barcelona came back to win 2-1 at the Metropolitano in the second leg. But Atletico still went through on away goals, or rather through the away goals equivalent under the current format. That tells you everything about how resilient this team is. Can Arsenal handle the pressure of a home knockout game in the Champions League? This is the moment we find out if Arteta has truly built a mentally strong squad. There is also the matter of Atletico's away form in England this season, and this is where it actually gets interesting for Arsenal fans. Simeone has brought his team to England 3 times this Champions League campaign. They lost 4-0 at Arsenal in the league phase back in October. They lost 3-2 at Tottenham in the last 16. They lost 3-2 at Liverpool at the very start of the campaign in September. 5 games lost in England. 3 visits to English grounds, 3 defeats. England is clearly not Atletico's happy place, and the Emirates is the ground where Arsenal already beat them by 4 goals this season. That kind of history matters. It gets in a team's head whether they admit it or not. The injury situation and what it means for Arteta. Now, let us talk about the injury news because this has been a talking point all week. The good news is that it is mostly positive for Arsenal heading into tomorrow. Martin Odegaard missed the weekend Premier League win against Fulham with a knee issue. The captain has been managing this problem for much of the season, and he was also forced off during the first leg in Madrid. But Arteta has given the clearest possible signal that Odegaard will be available tomorrow. When asked directly, Arteta said he expects both Odegaard and Kai Havertz to be ready, adding that both players and the medical staff would do everything possible to get them fit. Havertz had also been carrying a muscular problem after coming off against Newcastle. His importance to this Arsenal team cannot be overstated. He brings physicality, movement and goals. Having him available in a game where Arsenal may need to break down a deep defensive block from Atletico is huge. I think so, the both of them. They are going to do everything. We are going to do everything to have them ready. Mikel Arteta on Odegaard and Havertz. The one player who remains a doubt is Jurrien Timber. The Dutch defender has been out for over a month with a groin problem. Arteta was cautious about his chances, saying that while Timber has started some light work on the pitch, the team still needs to see him doing more before he can be considered available for selection. Timber's versatility is a big miss because he can play right back, left back and centre back. But Arsenal have shown this season that they can cope without him. The bottom line on injuries is this. If Odegaard and Havertz start tomorrow, Arsenal are very close to full strength, and that is an enormous boost heading into the biggest game of their season. Bayern Munich think Arsenal are the best in Europe right now. Here is something that might not get enough attention, but absolutely should. Vincent Kompany, the manager of Bayern Munich, one of the most decorated clubs in European football, went on record and said Arsenal are the benchmark team in Europe right now. Let that land properly. Not Kompany saying they are good, not Kompany giving a polite compliment before a game, Kompany calling Arsenal the standard that every other team should be measuring themselves against. He praised their defensive organisation, their ability to manage games, their intensity in the second half, and the maturity Arteta has built into this squad over years of hard work. When the manager of Bayern Munich, a club that has won the Champions League 6 times, calls your team the best in Europe, does that tell us something important about where Arsenal really are right now? Kompany also said before a game earlier in the season that facing Arsenal was the most difficult task Bayern would face in this competition. He called them the hardest possible opponent. And after losing to Arsenal in the league phase back in November, Kompany was honest enough to admit that Arsenal was simply better that day and used small moments to their advantage perfectly. But here is the most telling thing Kompany said. Even after that defeat, he made clear that he wanted to face Arsenal again. He said he hoped their paths would cross at a later stage of the competition. He did not accept the loss as something final. He wanted a rematch. That rematch is not going to come in this semi-final because Bayern are on the other side of the draw. But the respect Kompany showed Arsenal this season is the kind of thing that tells you how far this club has genuinely come under Arteta. The other semi-final and what it means for Arsenal on Wednesday night. While Arsenal fans will still be buzzing from whatever happens at the Emirates, the other semi-final takes place in Munich. Bayern hosts Paris Saint-Germain with PSG holding a 1-goal lead from the first leg, which finished 5-4 in Paris in what many are already calling the best Champions League game in years. 9 goals in one semi-final first leg, both attacks firing, both defences in absolute chaos. It was the kind of game that reminds you why football is the greatest sport on the planet. PSG won at home, but the tie is far from over because Bayern won all 6 of their home Champions League games this season and scored 20 goals in those matches alone. The numbers for Wednesday give Bayern a 57% chance of winning the second leg at the Allianz Arena. PSG sit at just under 24%. So Bayern are likely to go through, but PSG are absolutely capable of an away result if their attackers find their rhythm again. Now here is why this matters for Arsenal. If Arsenal get through tomorrow and Bayern get through on Wednesday, Arsenal would face a team in the final that Vincent Kompany himself has said Arsenal are better than. A team whose manager has publicly put Arsenal on a pedestal. That would be a fascinating final. But if PSG get through instead, Arsenal would face a team that just put 5 goals past Bayern Munich in a single game. That is a different kind of challenge entirely. Whichever way it goes, the final on May 30th at the Puskas Arena in Budapest is going to be something special. If you could choose, would you rather Arsenal face Bayern Munich or PSG in the Budapest final? Which matchup would you find more exciting, and which do you think Arsenal would be more likely to win? What history says about these semi-finals? Let us take a quick look back at some Champions League semi-final history, because this stage of the competition has a very special habit of producing the most memorable games in the whole tournament. 2025. Inter Milan beat Barcelona over 2 legs in a brilliant contest. The first leg at Camp Nou finished 3-3. Inter then won 4-3 in extra time at San Siro. Pure drama from start to finish. 2022 Real Madrid somehow came back against Manchester City in stoppage time of the second leg. 2 Rodrigo goals, forced extra time, and Benzema scored the penalty that sent Madrid to the final after City had won the first leg 4-3. 2019, 2 astonishing comebacks on back-to-back nights. Liverpool beat Barcelona and Tottenham beat Ajax in the second legs on consecutive evenings, nights that people who watched them will never forget. 2018, the last truly classic final by most accounts. Real Madrid beat Liverpool 3-1 in Kiev with 2 goals from Gareth Bale off the bench. His first was one of the greatest goals ever scored in a final. What is the lesson from all of this history? The semi-final stage of the Champions League is where legends get made. It is where moments happen that people talk about for the rest of their lives. And tomorrow night at the Emirates, Arsenal have a chance to create one of those moments for themselves and for their supporters. The bigger picture for Arsenal as a club, there is something worth stepping back and appreciating here. This is not just about one game or one season. What Mikel Arteta has built at Arsenal over the last several years represents a genuine shift in the club's standing in world football. Cast your mind back to where Arsenal were in 2019 and 2020. They were finishing 8th in the Premier League. They were nowhere near qualifying for the Champions League. The top four felt like a dream and Europe's biggest stage felt completely out of reach. Now Arsenal are in the final four of the Champions League with an unbeaten record in the competition this season. The manager of Bayern Munich is calling them the standard setters of European football. Their captain and most of their key players are still in their prime years. This project has legs. This is not a one-off. Think back to where Arsenal were just 5 or 6 years ago. Does reaching a Champions League semi-final with an unbeaten record feel like the start of something, or does it feel like the biggest moment this generation of Arsenal players will have? The answer to that question matters a lot for how you feel going into tomorrow. If this is just the beginning and Arsenal are genuinely building something sustainable at the very highest level of football, then reaching the final would be brilliant, but even losing would not destroy the project. But if you sense that chances like this do not come around often and that this particular squad of players may not get another shot, then the pressure of tomorrow night feels even bigger. Either way, Arteta and his players deserve enormous credit for getting to this point. And the supporters who have stayed loyal through some very difficult years deserve to enjoy every minute of what is coming. The penalty debate, nobody can agree on. You cannot talk about these semi-finals without at least touching on the penalty situation, because it has been one of the major stories of this round. Across both first legs last week, all 4 teams were awarded and scored a penalty. A 5th penalty was given to Arsenal during their game, but was then overturned after the referee went to the pitchside monitor to review the incident. The 2 handball decisions in particular caused a lot of debate. In both cases, the ball first hit the body of the player and then deflected onto an arm that was not pressed tight against the body. Interestingly, this kind of incident is normally not given as a penalty in the English Premier League, but tends to be called as a foul in UEFA competitions. So English clubs like Arsenal sometimes find themselves on the wrong end of decisions that feel unfair by Premier League standards, but are actually consistent with European rules. UEFA's refereeing director has reportedly said he does not like what he calls soft penalties and wants to move away from very small VAR interventions deciding games at this level. He is planning meetings with refereeing officials from the major leagues to try to find more consistency going forward. What does this mean for tomorrow? It means Arsenal and their supporters need to be aware that the refereeing standard in the Champions League is different from what they see every weekend in England. Decisions will be made that feel wrong. The key is not to let those moments derail the team's focus. What Arsenal need to do tomorrow night, let us keep this simple, because football at its best is a simple game. Here is what Arsenal need to do to get to Budapest. First, they need to score. The tie is level at 1-1. A goal puts Arsenal ahead on aggregate. A second goal makes it very hard for Atletico to come back. Arsenal's attack has been sharp all season, and the Emirates crowd will drive the team forward from the first whistle. Getting an early goal would settle nerves and put Atletico in a really difficult position immediately. Second, they cannot afford to switch off at the back. Simeone's teams are experts at hitting you when you are not organised. One moment of concentration from Arsenal's defence could cost everything. The back four needs to be switched on for the full 90 minutes and possibly beyond if the game is level going into extra time. Third, if Odegaard and Havertz are fit and starting, Arsenal need their 2 key players to be decisive. Odegaard's creativity and Havertz's physicality are the perfect combination for breaking down a deep and organised defensive team like Atletico. These are the moments that captains and leaders are made for. If you were Mikel Arteta, what would be your game plan for tomorrow? Would you go at Atletico from the start and try to put the tie to bed early, or would you be patient and grind them down over 90 minutes? The beauty of tomorrow night is that there is no single right answer. Both approaches can work, and Arsenal have shown this season that they are capable of winning games in different ways. They can dominate teams, and they can also grind out ugly results when they need to. That kind of flexibility is what makes a proper Champions League team. This is Arsenal's moment. 20 years is a long time to wait. 2 full decades since Arsenal last stood in a Champions League final. Players have come and gone. Managers have come and gone. The stadium has changed. The whole world around football has changed. But the hunger and the longing of every Arsenal fan has stayed exactly the same through all of it. Tomorrow night is not just another game. It is not just another knockout round. It is 90 minutes that could set the tone for the next chapter of this club. Win and Arsenal go to Budapest. Win and a whole generation of supporters gets to watch their team play on the biggest stage in club football for the first time in 20 years. Win and Arteta and this group of players write their names into the history of this football club forever. Bayern Munich's own manager says Arsenal are the best in Europe right now. The odds say Arsenal should get through. The unbeaten record says Arsenal have what it takes. Everything is pointing in one direction. Now the players just have to go and do it. Come on, you Gunners. The Emirates is waiting. Budapest is waiting. History is waiting. One last question for the Jalivia Sports Arsenal community before we sign off. Write your prediction for tomorrow in your head right now. What is the score going to be and who is going to score the goal that sends Arsenal to the final? Whatever happens tomorrow night, we will be here to break it all down for you. Stay locked in with Olivia Sports Arsenal for the best coverage from our community. Share this post with every Gooner you know and let us go into tomorrow together as one.